Ah, Good evening, everybody, and thanks. Happy Sunday. This is the first time it's occurring, and I want to start by apologizing to everybody. First of all, let me say welcome. Welcome for those watching this as a replay. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. And for those in the live class, we were supposed to start by 8 o'clock, but this is 24 minutes after. Sorry, we're supposed to start by 7 o'clock. This is 24 minutes after 7. um, for some that understand my movement, I have a class every Sunday, so I have to finish with the class, then trying to get back to base where I can make the video. We had some little things to take care of, and it took time beyond what we imagined. My team even said, "Let's cancel the class." I said, "No, I have a lot of persons waiting. I'll be as fast as I can, and maybe I'll just cut some certain things to meet up with the time." So, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to our DAX class. And today we're looking at one of the most interesting, I mean, one of the key um, DAX functions, which is calculate. We also look at filter, we also look at all, and we'll try and make it as practical as possible. We're supposed to have lots of explanations before the practical part, but I'll get straight to the practical part using an example data we have worked on before. So if you're in class and you can hear me, you're patient enough to wait up to this time, please just say hi or say hello. Let me quickly bring up the dashboard. Let's start. So if you're in class, please just say hello. Let me know that I have 1, 2 persons that are with me, and let's get going. Like I said, my strong apology for um, coming into class today a bit late. I am really sorry. It wasn't intended. I think this is the first time it's occurring. And, please bear with me. Bear with me for today. Okay, so let me bring up the data sets. This is the data set. Okay, so if you're in class, just quickly, just let me know that I have 1, 2 persons in class, and then we get going immediately. Okay, so very quickly, any ORI, ROTI, you're welcome. Kanu AKAN, you're welcome. Folktales by Moonlight, okay? You're welcome. Florence, you're welcome. Emmanuel, you're welcome. Chibuzo, you're welcome. Stella, Samuel, um, Kim, Joe, and others. Please, you're all welcome. Like I said when I started, I know my videos are mostly for my communities, but we also recognize that others may be watching this later. But for community members that are here today, like I said, my sincere apologies. I had to see how I can handle lots of things immediately and then still come into the class. So I'm bringing up the data set quickly. Let's get going with the activity for the day. Okay. So I'm bringing up the data set quickly. Let's get going with the activity for the day. Okay. So can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me clearly, please? Please, if you can hear me clearly, let me know that the sound is good and the video is good, so we can proceed. We're looking at the calculate function. We're looking at the filter, and we'll look at all, and we'll look at practical cases where we can use this. Okay, I just need, okay, so I have Emmanuel say yes, and I have Joseph said sound is good. So thank you very much. Let's get going. We've worked on this car sales data before, and for those joining us for the first time, if you check our previous videos, you see projects where we built it up to the dashboard. And there were 2 cases where questions came, a lot of questions, both in the community and on YouTube. And the questions were how to calculate the growth rate. That's number one. Then number two, we had an instance where in the analysis, in building the insights, we identified the 5 top uh, car brands that performed very well. Then when we tried to use um, show as percentage of column total, there was an error, and I now taught us how to handle that error. So those are the 2 things I'm moving straight to talk about today. Now let's look at the calculate function. So when we want to um, do an aggregation and we want to add a condition to that aggregation, that is one of the instances where we can bring in the calculate function. For example, we want to do total sales. Let me bring this. So if we take this data, today I'm using Excel, so I can actually show us that error, and then we see how to handle it with both in Excel and Power BI. In Power BI, this error is not obvious, but in Excel, the error is obvious. So let's say we want to check the total number of cars sold by the total number of sales from each brand. I'll zoom in so that we can be on the same page. And then let's just filter it, sort it from largest to smallest. So now, if we want to say, let's do the total number of cars, we can simply just say, okay, do total cars and we'll have it. But if we want to see the total number of cars based on Ford, by Ford products. Now, if you check, we're doing the same aggregation, but we're adding a condition to it. So this is one key instance where we always use a calculate and other functions in the series we're working with today. So let me start and then get quickly to it. I'll show us the error, then I'll show us how to handle the error. Now, see this particular data. Now, if we want to see the percentage contribution of each of these items with respect to this, now by default, let me quickly do the number format so we'll not have issues with formatting. Okay. When we did the insight, please, if you missed our previous video on the car project, I'll just ask that you watch the car project. You understand this error. Now, when we did the insights, in building the insights for the business owner, we discovered that a higher percentage of the sales come from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is Ford, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, and Hyundai. So how do we present this to the clients that this percentage of cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they form about 85 to 90% of the sales? That's why we want you to concentrate on that. So if we're presenting that, now most of us, what we normally do, we use what is called percentage of column total. Then I want to show you the error that normally comes with percentage of column total. And then how do you solve that? I'll just solve 2 errors today because of the class. Then I'll give us materials to maybe read up in the parts that we miss, the parts that I did not meet up the class early. So let me bring this. Let's write our first DAX. Let's just create our first DAX, add measure. So we want to do total cars. So we come to this is equal to, and then we just say we want to do the distinct count. Last week I talked about distinct count and count, so you can just check that video. So the name of the table is clean. So in clean, we want to count the transaction ID, and we close this. You can zoom this in. So what we just said, count the number of cars, the number of items in the transaction ID. We check is correct. We change it to numbers, change it to whole numbers, and then add the 1000 separator. When we click OK, now we have just created a measure. Now, if we drag the measure down here, you can see we have it here. So let me remove this one that comes by default. And so we have our own here that is a measure. And let's sort it from largest to smallest. Now, if we want to see the percentage contribution of each of these items, normally what we do, we bring this one down here again. Let me still filter from highest to largest to smallest. But we'll now come to this column. We'll click this column. We'll now say show value as a percentage of column total. Now, when we do this, yes, it's working. It's showing us that Ford 24.6, 24.7%, Toyota 24.3, Honda 13.6, and it's showing us up to that. Now, you will agree that a greater percentage comes from this top 5. But now this is where it becomes, where the error now shows up. If we bring up a slicer, and we're working with the car brands, so we bring up this slicer, and then we want to see the percentage contribution of this form. Now it's showing 100%. But if I click Chevrolet, you can see that it's showing 100%. So this is the error that we want to adjust specifically. Let me just show you how to solve this error using calculate, filter, and all that. So if we want to see the contribution of Ford, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, and Hyundai. So that means we don't want to see, I clicked this multiple selection. We don't want to see Volkswagen. We don't want to see Kia. We don't want to see Mercedes. We don't want to see Chevrolet. So in building my dashboard, I should be able to have a percentage figure here that is the sum of all this, so that I can show that this product, out of the 1,491, 1,332 came from these 5 products. And when you bring all of them together, it creates a percentage. That percentage is one of the ways we can convincingly say these are the 5 products, 5 brands we should focus on. But it's giving us 100. So how do we handle this error? So showing us this, you get is one, like I said, how to bring up the calculate and then how to use the function. So what we need to do first, we need to bring in the calculate function, and then let me bring it in two options. So I come to the measures and I said add a measure. So first, this percentage, for example, 24.8 is 368 divided by 1,491. This other percentage is this number divided by the total. So the percentage here is simply each of these numbers divided by the total. So first thing we want to do is, so let me just quickly, we say, okay, how do we bring out these numbers? How do we have the total? So we can say, let us filter. Let us create the filter. But we'll create the filter using, let's say, using all, the all function. So we'll say, okay, calculate, and then still use calculate, still give us the total number of cars. We have created the total number of cars before as a measure, so we just call it again. And then what is the condition? Now the condition we want to say, for example, so let me use as an example, show us only the cars made by Ford. So if I say, for example, I just write in still in the clean table, we want to see the car brand that is equal to Ford. And I close the bracket. Let me zoom this in and we'll check the formula. So what I'm saying is, okay, so show us for all the cars, but we want to see for only Ford. So let me write Ford here because I'll still change it. For only for Ford, we click it number, make it a whole number, and then we can turn on the 1000 separator. If we come here, we'll click for Ford. You can see that now it's showing us the details for Ford, but it's spreading it down for everybody. So what it's simply doing here, it's doing the same total, but this total with respect to just this condition. So that's how the calculate works. Now, interestingly, if we want the same way to, if we want now for it to show for, let's say, Ford, just pick only Ford and show it once, we can simply come to it again. Now, we want to say filter it by Ford, but just show it only once. You can come again, write a DAX. Let me zoom this in. Or the calculate function. Now, at this point, now we use the filter function. So we're saying the total car sales, but this time show us the car sales and filter it. Let's filter it. And the filter, first of all, we ask you for the table. The name of the table is cleaned. So we call the table, and then we call the condition. So we want to say where we have the car brand. So the car brand is equals Ford. And close the bracket twice. Let me zoom in. Let's check. So we're saying still do filter this data where the car brand is Ford, and then give us the total. That's the calculate we just did. If we check it, it's okay. We go to numbers and we'll check using whole numbers. Turn on the 1000 separator. Now, if we bring the Ford here, you can see it's giving us just Ford. So one key difference between using, this is one key difference between using the filter in the calculate and not using the filter. Now, let's use the third one because there are three things I said we'll learn today. I've shown us example using the filter, I've shown us the calculate. Now, let's use the all. Now, what the all will do is, if we want to bring each of these, for example, if I filter this, let me filter through Ford. If I filter through Ford, you can see the total number of cars will change based on the filter. So what the all function will do, the all function will say, don't recognize this filtering that is here, still maintain this total. So let me do the all function. So let's do it. Now we want to filter again, but this time we want to filter using the all function. So we come here again and we say calculate, and we're checking the total cars. This time we say all, and the all, we're looking at the car, the brand. So clean car brand, and then we close. Now let me zoom in. Let's see. Okay, so we close it the second time. So we're saying this time give me the total, but irrespective of the filter. We don't need any filter to come up there. So we check it working. We change this to whole numbers and we turn this on. So if I bring this up, if I click this, you can see what we have here. So this gives us a very good way to understand the whole process, that you can use the all function to stop uh, the default filtering that should occur here, and we can use the filter function to just give us one specific result. Now, how do we handle this particular error of when we have a filter and when we don't have a filter? So now we have simple. We have the total cars, and then we have the all. So we can do this divided by this and to give us the actual figure. So I'll go back to the table. I'll remove 1, 2, 3. So I come back to the table. I remove all, and all is the main thing we want to work with. I remove the third ones, and I remove the fourth. Our data is back. Now let's do again. So this time we use the divide function. So at this time, our growth, our percentage contribution of each brand. So percentage contribution will be the divide function. So we take the numerator now will be the total sales. So we say total sales divided by the denominator will now be the all that we just created. So that will be all filter all. So that's filter all. And then if the answer is not there, just give it a 0. If there's any error, just type a 0. So let me zoom in. So we know about the divide function. It's something we did last week in our previous class. So we're saying take this total cars, divide it by the all. Remember, I just showed us about the all. If there's any error, just add a 0. So we change it to percentage. So just come here, change it to percentage, put 2 decimal places, and we click OK. Now, if we say show us the percentage contribution, so if we look at this now, this one is the default one that comes with Excel. This is the one we just calculated. Okay, the spelling of contribution, let me just quickly correct that spelling. Contribution, okay. Then locate the contribution. So now see the difference. Now, if we bring back our slicer, and then if we click forward, you can see now calculated, the percentage is showing here, but the percentage is not showing here. So that is the error, and this is how to correct it. So if you're using Excel, and also in Power BI, but it's obvious in Excel, if you're using Excel, try and reduce, I won't say avoid, try and reduce the way you use this part called show percentage of column total because of error. So now let's see the percentage contribution of this top 5. So if we click multiple selection, remove Volkswagen, remove Kia, remove Mercedes-Benz, and then remove Chevrolet. So now, based on our findings, we can report correctly that 89, which is 90% of the sales, came from just 5 brands. Okay, so that is the first part of our discussion today, which is one of the key questions asked in the mentorship community. Now, the second part in the mentorship community that I want to handle again today is, and it has to do with time intelligence function, but let's still go with it. Now, it has to do with growth rates. Now, let me bring the data first. So if we come here and let's just copy this, Control A, Control C, and we paste here. And I take all of these out. And we want to bring, I'll bring in month's name. We'll remove it later. Month's name. Let's bring in month's name. And okay, I'll go back to, so sales date. Let's bring in sales dates. Sales dates. Okay. So for growth rates, for those that are not very sure of what growth rate is, if we come to, whenever you're doing anything in sales, so growth rates, sales growth rates, Give the formula, just give me the definition. Sales growth rates. So when you're working with the sales data, one of the things you should always include is the growth rate over a period. Are we together? So, and to calculate growth rate, you need to know the current period minus the previous period, or divided by the previous period multiplied by 100. This is the formula. And so let me come here and then let's get back to the data for today. So with sales growth rates, we want to check. January we sold 70, February we sold 80. What is the growth rate? So the difference between 80 and 70 is 10. So that means the growth rate, the number now for now is 10. So 10 is what percentage? That is the growth rate. So we can use it to check per month to see how fast, how well we're doing. And to do growth rate, first, we need to bring the, for example, in February, the sales is 80. So in February, the previous month will now be January. So the previous month here will be 70. So to do that calculation, like I said, this data we have done it before. So these other explanations, please check our previous video on this YouTube channel. So I'm getting straight to calculating the growth rate. So first, we need to calculate the previous month. Now to do this, we need a calendar. So I take this out. So first, I need to bring up my calendar. So let's go to pivot table. This data is just a one column data. So there are many ways you can create the calendar. You can go to Power Query and then bring out the date month here. Then when we bring out the date month, we remove duplicates. We call it the dimension table. We then create the relationship. A shorter way, a better way is, since we have Power Pivot already, so we just go to Power Pivot and we say manage this data for us. In Power Pivot, if we go to design, we'll see the dates. If we come to dates, we just click on new. By default, the system will automatically check the data we're working with, check the beginning date and the closing date. Using that data, it will create a date table for us. That is the date dimension table. So it saves us all that detail of going from trying to get the date from the beginning to the end. You can see this data is a 2020 data, January to February. So if we search through it, you can see that everything here is just January to December. Okay, now we have the date table. Simply, we come to our design view. We need to model, create the model. So where is the date column? We have the sales date as the date column, and we have the date. So we just create a connection between the two, date and sales date. Okay, it's a one-to-many relationship. We're okay with it. So, and we simply come to our data, the model view. Okay, you can just save this. And okay, so no need to refresh anything here. We come here, it is here that we'll do the refresh. So come to our data, we refresh it. Okay, it's refreshed. Now let's just create a new pivot table. Pivot table from our model. Let's use a new sheet. So now you can see we have the calendar and our cleaned data. So in our clean data, we have total sales already. So if we bring total sales here, then we'll go to our calendar. We then say bring in, go to more fields, and then bring in our dates. Oh, okay, so let's bring in months. So we have our months all listed. Now let's create the difference now between the two months. So if we come to our table, let's create the previous month. So create it to recall the previous months, create a DAX for the previous months. And then we do calculate. Now we want to see the total cars, but we want to see it by 1 month backwards. So the total cars, comma, we use the date add function. So date add. And what is it that we want to see? So go to the calendar, go to the calendar table, and then go to dates, and then shift the months by 1, that is -1. And then everything, we want to see everything by months. So let me zoom this in, then I'll explain what we have just done. So we're saying that in the calculate table, using per month, move the months by 1, and then give us the total. So what it will do is January here, which is 70. If we come to February, any item in January will now become in February. In March, any item in February will now become the previous month in March. In April, March will now become the previous month. That's what we just did here. Okay, we say let it be a number and let it still be a whole number and turn on the 1000 separator. We check there's no error, it's okay, and we click OK. So if we click on previous months, so this is it. You can see now that it will move the months 1 step back. And then the last part of it now will now calculate the growth rate. So we need the difference. The growth rate will now be the difference between each of these. So we can call it variance. So let's just create something called variance. So we can say variance. The variance will be the difference between the present month. So let's say total cars minus the previous month. So we still make it a whole number. And then we check if it's correct, and we say okay. So if we say show us the variance, you can see that it will give us 80 minus 70, 10, 100 minus 80, 20, 120 minus. So it's giving us that difference. At this point, we can then do our growth rates. So our growth rates, we're ending here today. Our growth rates will be equals, we use the divide function again. So we divide the variance divided by the previous month. And if there is any error, just put 0 for us. So this will be our calculation for the growth rates. We change it to number, make everything in percentage, make it 2 decimal places, and then we click OK. Okay, and then we say show us the variance. So this becomes our growth rate. At this point, we don't need the previous month, or let's say we don't need the variance. So this is showing us the performance in terms of the each of the months and the growth rates concerning each of the months. We can use a combo chart to present this. A combo chart will work here, and then we say let this one be a line chart, clustered, and the growth rate should be a line chart. Okay. Yes, it's a come up. Okay, and then we click OK. So this gives us the performance within the period, hide all fields, and we extend this. But say show the legend. The legend should be at the bottom. Okay, then we'll expand this more. Okay, so we can see that yes, our highest selling month is somewhere in November, but in terms of growth, we have the highest performance somewhere around July. So this helps us to understand how the business is actually moving. So I would love to end here for today because of we trying to settle down, then get the class going, and lots of things, and all the experience. In the community, I'll remake this class. I owe everybody that quick one. So quickly, let's take our questions. I don't want us to exceed the time. It's 7:51 already. So quickly, I want to take questions. Okay, somebody said, what is the formula when trying to check the growth rate in years, not months? Okay, say between 2019, 20, it's just the simple difference is this part that we did month. If I'll try and make the screen just one. Let me make the screen just one. So that question, Mr. I think that question came in from Taiwo. This part that we have the growth rate in, for example, let me bring up the pivot table. I want to bring up the pivot measures so that we can get to growth rates. If I want to edit the formula. So how to change, no, not this one, the previous month's calculation. Yes. Okay. So if we're working with year, just this part, that's the only thing you change. Just change it to year. So there are two ways you can use what is called previous months. That's in time intelligence. Remember I told us that our class in DAX is in 4-part series. The last part when we're working with time intelligence function, I introduced us to previous months. So instead of using date add, we'll use previous months in that case. Are we together? So now we're using date add, and the only thing we need to change here is the month. So where we have months, we change it to year. And remember, the data now has to be multiple years. This one we are working with just 1 year, which is 2020. For this particular case, for this to play, we need multiple years. And this is just the part that we have to change. Okay, so let me take another question. Please, how did you load the data to Power Pivot? Okay. Mr. Manuel Joseph said, how did you load the data to Power Pivot? So let me quickly get to it. So this is our data. This is the point. So to load the data to Power Pivot, first you need Power Pivot activated in your system. There's a previous video on how to activate Power Pivot. So I click on Power Pivot, and then I simply go to Manage. Now in Manage, by default, your Power Pivot will appear this way. So the particular data that I want to load, so let's say this is the data. I click on the data, then I click on Power Pivot, and I say Manage. Automatically, it's loaded into Power Pivot. So that's it. Okay. Next question. Let's see. Next question is Mr. John Okafor. Your question, we have answered this question a lot and a lot of times. So if others see the question, they will help you answer it because we have handled it a lot of times. Okay, the data we are working with is the car sales data. I've made that data available a lot of times. I'll also send it immediately after this class. Check our previous video where we use Power BI to complete that car project. We also have access to that data, but I'll send it again in this particular class for us to see. So thank you very much for today. And once again, I sincerely apologize for coming late. And it's trying to finish my class, my physical class. I have a class in Lagos here from 1 to 5 p.m. Then attend to students by 6 before rushing down to base to set up this class. We had one or two things to take care of. Our apologies, sincerely. So thank you very much. Somebody said, I suppose the growth rate should be divide present month minus previous month divided by. So if you're using the divide function, Mr. Victor Bassi, if you're using the divide function, you don't need to use that slash, that forward slash. So the first part where you said present month minus previous month. In this data, the present month is total sales. The previous month, yes, the previous month. So you put that two in a bracket, then you add comma. Or if you don't put it in a bracket, just add comma. The system will acknowledge it. So instead of present month, is total sales minus previous. No. You don't do growth rate dividing it by total. Let's go to Google. So this is not me. Who is this? This is This Victor Bassi. So Victor Bassi, I'm going to Google. So if you see the calculation for growth rate is current period sales. In our discussion, current period is total sales, this current period. Then we have created previous sales divided by previous. So you can see that correction. So is current minus previous divided by previous. So let's get back to our discussion. I hope with this so for Mr. Victor Bassi, you need to do that correction. And like I said, don't use forward slash. Okay. Mr. Johnson, thank you, sir. I just joined the class. How can I have access to these and the previous classes? Okay, you can check our previous videos. But if you want to join my mentorship, for those that are aware, I have a mentorship program. Interestingly, I have a new batch starting tomorrow. If you want to join that new batch, I've sent us the link before, but I'll just drop the link. If you want to join that new batch, just chat me on WhatsApp, or I'll drop the details. You can just chat me quickly on WhatsApp, and then we'll add it to our class. You will make up for it next class. Yes, Mr. Ruben, I'll make up for it next class. Yes, I will make up for it. I'll add extra discussions to it. My apologies once again. And then spending quality time with the one who knows the. Okay, Victor, thank you very much. Sorry, man. Okay, then please, what is the physical class about, and how can I attend? Okay, presently I'm in Lagos, and most of us know I shuttle Lagos and Port Harcourt. So presently I'm in Lagos, and I have a weekend and a weekday class. I'll drop the phone number so that you can just call, and then we'll have that lengthy discussion. Okay, yeah, Victor. Okay, yeah, that's the correction. You're correct. So everybody, once again, thank you. I'll drop the WhatsApp phone number so you can chat. You can chat me or members of my team via WhatsApp so that you can have access to the mentorship program. The mentorship program is not free. It's 20,000. I guess that information is known to everybody by now. So this is the WhatsApp number. If you're interested in the mentorship program, a new batch is starting tomorrow. It's 20,000 naira. You can chat with us via WhatsApp. You can just say you're interested in the mentorship program, I'll send you your account details. Immediately you make payments, you'll be added to the class that is starting tomorrow. Or if you just want to make payments directly, I've just dropped the account number. That's the account number. You can just make payments into that account. It's 20,000 naira, and you still send your name and details to that WhatsApp number, and you'll be added to the mentorship program. So thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you all next Sunday. Hope we have a good week.